I think that interview process generally varies a lot from company to company. For example, let's say if you're sitting for an interview with Airbnb is known as a design-heavy firm, and like if you're interviewing for a PM position, you mostly would be tested on your design skills as well. And something like Urban Company is known for hiring a lot of ex-consultants. So what they're trying to solve as PMs are business problems, and we all know that product is like the center point of design, user, and business. So you need to see that which firm is what heavy. So yeah, design heavy Airbnb, business heavy Urban Company, and user heavy something like that. So your interview would be varying in intensity and the kind of questions being asked according to the kind of the company it is. So that is number one. Number two is generally if a pattern had to be seen, first rounds are usually vetting rounds. Either an HR can do it, or someone who's the point of contact can do it for you. So they'll just call you up for like a 15, 30, even a 45-minute conversation about your background. What are you doing right now? Why do you want to shift to a PM job? And why are you interested in that company? So this is just to weed out any outliers or any obvious red flags from the candidate's side, or maybe even tell the candidate if he or she is overqualified for the position. So that is round number one. After that is done, round number two is generally with a product manager, and he or she would be asking you mostly asking you product questions. It could be like a product design question, it could be a root cause analysis question, it could be a guesstimate even. So this would be like a technical round for you. Then the third round is it could be again like if you're applying for a company which is engineering heavy, then you might be interviewing with a software developer because they would like to see how you would be communicating with the engineering team, because well, the firm is engineering heavy. So that is like a technical round, but on the actual technical side of engineering side. So and this round could be replaced by like a design team also, if let's say you're applying for Airbnb. So and round four is essentially a cultural fit test. Along with that, they might or might not ask like an overarching view of how you think about the firm, about how the firm's future looks like, or they might even quiz you or give you like a product case study that is specific to their company. That might or might not happen in the initial phases of the interviews. Those might be a bit generic in the sense of that, how to increase the monthly active users of Swiggy, or something generic as a product that you are used to and he or she is used to. So yeah, I think that's the usual trend.
When you're in an interview, have your skills in place, things like structured thinking, have an awareness of what the frameworks are that are out there. But understand that finally at the end of the day, you're being evaluated on like, do you fit well with the team? Do you fit, are you a good fit? Will you be able to do well here? So I think I would like to focus more on that part of the equation and say that understand that in an interview, it's not just that they're interviewing you, you are also evaluating that space. So it's like to the extent that you know what you want, you will be able to evaluate them. So, what are your skills? What kind of PM are you? Slack famously has like a bunch of like philosophy majors in their PM roles. Like I spoke to someone the other day who's like he's a psychology major or something like that. So whatever you bring to the table, understand that clearly. Understand the company, like what do they need? Do they need some deep tech person? Then maybe you're not a good fit. Are they doing more like people oriented stuff? Like go for it. Like are they having people challenges? And one last point I would add is that when you're speaking, when you're in an interview, and when you're trying to understand what it looks like on the inside, ask them questions, ask them operational questions. How does the work get prioritized? How does the work get delivered? Like what exactly happens from idea to code to deployment? And often whatever a company talks about, like their values and this and that or whatever, like ultimately how the work gets done tells you a lot about like what actually is going on in that company. So I would say like keep an eye on these sorts of things and learn to look for these signals, because that becomes ultimately when you join a company you want to do well. Straight up just ask them, what does success look like for this role? That can immediately tell you like, is this a good fit for me?
So I think the first thing is the assignment. Either it's the company that kind of sends you an assignment, and even if it doesn't, I think it's one should probably do one themselves, just for kind of getting into that mindset where, okay, you are looking at this app, you're looking at this company, and you're trying to identify what their problem might be, and you try to like work around that. Okay, this is the problem, this is how I would approach the situation, even if you're not sending it to the recruiter or just kind of bringing it up during interviews that, hey, I did something like that. But that entire exercise kind of gets you into that mindset that you're already within the company, and you are like and the interviews also kind of look like that you are not just answering someone, you're collaborating with the interview towards identifying certain problems and kind of answering them. So that assignment is definitely the key. Second is that expect to get interviewed by a lot of folks and a very diverse set of folks. So diverse is the keyword here. So absolutely you will get interviewed by a PM, most likely a senior PM, but then there will be like probably VPs of strategies who will be interviewing you. Design heads will be interviewing you. You will have people from the data teams who will be interviewing you, and then most likely, depending on the stage of the firm, the CTO and the CEO as well. And that thing may look scary to a lot of people, that okay, if the head of design is interviewing me, does that mean I need to know Photoshop? Or if someone from data team is interviewing me, are they going to like ask me to run queries on Athena and work with like big data sets or whatever? Nobody is looking for that. What they are looking for is essentially like two things. A, how well do you identify a problem if a problem statement is given, and what's your approach to kind of working towards that problem? So if it's the data team that you're working with, it's not about running queries, it's not about knowing SQL, it's about whether you can ask the right questions to the data team, and once the data team provides you a certain set of data, are you able to kind of read that correctly and come upon the right conclusions? Another thing that a lot of folks also look for is, if you are stuck, which you would be, which is mandatory, I guess, if you are in the PM role, that you do get stuck once a day, how confident or how easily do you reach out to people, and that sense of collaboration. I think those are the things that people look for, cultural fit and your understanding of different problems and how you approach them. So that's essentially what they are looking for, that whether you have a framework when you try to solve a problem or not. So assignment and a lot of interviews with a diverse set of folks.
Have maybe like 2 to 3 rounds of interviews for product thinking, right? What are all the metrics that you would come up for this feature or product or company? And then designing a new feature metric and RCA. Let's say there is some issue, right? Finding the root cause of the issue. So these couple of interviews will be around these topics. After that, you will have maybe a culture fit round, wherein the HR will try to gauge if you will actually fit in the company or not. This is optional. Some companies have it, some companies don't. And again, you might also have an interview with, let's say, maybe the tech team, right? Like they would want to know if this person is technically sound or not. So let's say they primarily want to know if, let's say, you come up with features, they are maybe reasonable, and you can give clarity to the tech that this is how they should be worked upon. Again, this part is also optional. Some companies do it, some companies don't. So this is how the interview process is going to look like for you.